Evan Cohen joins me now. Evan, Myles Turner, the newest Buck. I don't think anybody saw that one coming, man.
No, Strouf, I thought that there was going to be something that happened over the last 24 to 48 hours, let's say, like from last night till today or maybe tomorrow. I thought the Bucks were going to do something of significance. I had a hunch on that, maybe some info, maybe tiny bit. And at no point did I think this was going to be what it was. Right? If you said to me, "Hey, what are the Bucks going to do?" I would have guesstimated in that moment that they're going to do something big of significance. What are they going to do? I would have said maybe trade Dame Lillard for 2 or 3 guys on a bad team, right? Whether Washington or I had previously stated Utah before they made some moves, or maybe even back to his old stomping grounds in Portland, and or maybe they take Kyle Kuzma and at the time Pat Connaughton, who obviously is now with the Hornets, and traded the $31 million plus potentially a future first that they would have, I think, one left, and trade for someone. At no point did I see this happening. And I happened to be on live with Wilde and Tausch today on ESPN Wisconsin when this happened. And my first reaction, if people go back on the ESPN Wisconsin app and listen to it, I said in that moment, Strouf, this can't be it because they actually are not allowed to do it this way. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if they had 4 years at $100 million available to them, none of us would have been debating if Giannis was going to stay. We would have been saying, who are they going to use that money on? So I was sitting there saying, well, maybe it's a sign and trade. But then you're thinking to yourself, why does Indiana want stuff that Milwaukee doesn't want at that point? And then I went to the place of, well, maybe something called the disabled player exemption, which is if a player is ruled out for the entirety of the season, a team can apply for the DPE, the disabled player exemption, and see if the league grants it, you get half of the player's salary to then use on another player. So you get half a Dame's salary. The problem with that is he's then definitively done for the year and the playoffs. And if I'm not mistaken, it counts then further against the tax. So it's like you're going to pay $3 for every dollar you're going to pay. So, well, that probably didn't make sense. So I'm thinking in this moment, how did they pull this off? Never in my thoughts at all did I think about the waive and stretch provision, which is so people understand that. And I know you've had people on explaining this, but just to be clear, when you waive a stretch a player, you take his contract, the amount of years, you multiply it by 2, and you add a year. So if you want to waive and stretch a player right now that has 5 years left on his deal, that becomes an 11-year contract. So this is wild that the Bucks did this way. It's unbelievably creative and stunning.
I mean, it's also kind of comedic that it lands on Bobby Bonilla Day now.
Which, by the way, on a side note, Bobby Bonilla is not the only player to have all these huge numbers on Bobby Bonilla Day. And as we learned this morning on UnSportsmanLike, do you know that the Mets are not the only team paying Bobby Bonilla on Bobby Bonilla Day? The Baltimore Orioles pay him $500,000 every year as well because they had the same thing as they had with the Mets.
It's Christmas in July for Bobby Bonilla. That's fascinating. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radio and Sportsman, my guest here on ESPN Wisconsin. So, yeah, the Damian Lillard portion of this is the fascinating part. And we had, as you mentioned, Tim Bontemps on last hour, and he kind of said, yeah, this is the biggest one ever in NBA history in terms of the waive and stretch. $22 million a year, which indicates, Evan, and I would assume you read this the same way, John Horst doesn't give a damn, man. He's just trying to swing for another championship as long as Giannis is in Milwaukee. That's the way I read it.
So let's be clear on this. What they did today is bad business. Putting $20 million of dead cap on your books for the next 5 years is bad business. It's way worse to lose Giannis.
Bingo.
That's horrible business. So if somebody in its simplest form presented you, every Bucks fan listening in Wisconsin right now, 2 choices. You could either put $20 million of dead cap on your books, meaning if the salary cap is $100 million every year, the Bucks only get $80 million to work with, okay? You could put $20 million on your books for the next 5 years and keep Giannis, or not do that and lose Giannis. What would you like to do? So you have to consider this, the Milwaukee Bucks saying, we are willing for the next 5 years. This is bad business, but they could have been way worse. For the Milwaukee Bucks for the next 5 years are saying, we're okay working with less because we have 34 and you don't.
I hate to
That's
give
the
you a
reality.
compliment. I hate to give you a compliment. That's brilliant. I've been on the air for an
That's
hour
what
and
it
40
is.
minutes. But
That is
you're totally
there's
right.
no way. I'm not trying to question anyone's credible reporting. What I'm going to tell you from my perspective, there's no chance in hell that they make this move without knowing he's cool with it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely not. And
No
chance. No chance. The Shams Charania report is the one I'm subscribing to today, Evan, and that was effectively, yeah, he's in on it, and he wanted Myles Turner in Milwaukee. And if Giannis wants that, that tells me, A, Giannis will be in Milwaukee, and B, he understands what has to happen in order to get Myles Turner in Milwaukee, and that would be moving on from Damian Lillard, which unfortunately it is what it is. Nobody can control injuries, but that looks like an epic failure now after 2 years because you have to move on from Damian Lillard to get Myles Turner.
Strouf, I'm not sure about that. So
how are you not sure about it, though? It's without a doubt what it is.
Let's talk about intention and result, okay,
sure.
in this case.
Sure.
I believe the intention of getting Drew Holiday was the right move. The result was unbelievable. I think the intention of getting Damian Lillard was absolutely right. Yep. The result was not.
Yes.
The intention of getting Myles Turner was absolutely right. The result to be determined. We don't know yet. But I don't know, unlike Drew giving up a ton of picks to New Orleans, unlike Dame giving up Drew, I don't know that the judgment of the Myles Turner acquisition and the subsequent $20 million of dead cap plus over the next 5 years should be judged on whether or not they win another title. I think it should be judged on how many more years Giannis is on the Bucks. That's the way you judge this. I think it's a different way of judging it than previous acquisitions. Because if Giannis fulfills this contract and signs another one, you have won another championship, whether you actually hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy or not. The Milwaukee Bucks are so relevant and so important. Are they the Packers? No, nobody's the Packers. We understand that, right? Yeah. We totally get that. But I lived in Wisconsin as a UW grad for 4 years, worked there for another half a year. If the Bucks aren't good or they don't have star power, they quickly fall out of conversation. Let's just be real about that. They're an awesome organization. They're unbelievably creative. I'm probably, a little teaser here, tomorrow on First Take, going to be making this big argument that I believe the Milwaukee Bucks have done more for their star player than maybe anyone in the NBA has done for any star player. They have moved, mountains to make sure that he is happy and has great players around him. I don't think that this next move should be judged based on a title. I think it should be judged on if they can keep him.
Can it be judged on both, though? Because that's where my head goes.
Of course, but I don't think, Strouf, we're up to that part yet. I think we are up to the point of keep him. Then now that you're like a year or two into keeping him, then we could retroactively say, well, you didn't win a title, or you should win a title, or this was a bad move. They should have there is a chance, hindsight 2020, that we look back at today and saying let me rephrase this. There's a chance we look back at today, if it doesn't work out, and say, while doing the right thing, it ended up being the wrong thing, and they should have just kept Dame, not gone for Turner, traded Giannis, let the Dame contract play itself out, or let him opt out at the end of the year and replenish this whole thing. We could look back at it and say it in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. No question. In the moment, when everyone thinks Miami, Golden State, Dallas, New York, all these teams are kind of saving up to get Giannis, all of them have to change course today because they ain't getting Giannis.
That's true. That's a very good point. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radio's UnSportsmanLike with me, Alex Strouf here on ESPN Wisconsin, as we react to all the Bucks news over the course of the last 2 days or so, but really the last 19 and a half hours. Absolutely bonkers what the general manager, John Horst, has been up to the last, since free agency opened at 6 o'clock last night. 5 o'clock last night, 6 o'clock Eastern, where Evan is. Evan, I've asked everybody that's joined me this because I think it's interesting, and Tim Bontemps probably raining on Bucks fans' parade today, as he says this doesn't elevate them to a top 4 team in the East. You're a Miami Heat fan, so obviously you have a good pulse on Miami and everything Eastern Conference. After the Myles Turner move, where do you view the Bucks in terms of the hierarchy in the Eastern Conference entering next season?
Okay, so I think at this moment, because I think there's more work to be done, obviously,
Agreed.
I think you have to put the Knicks above them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to put the Cavs above them. I think you will consider putting the Hawks, Magic, and Pistons above them. Tim will probably put, if I know, I didn't hear it, but I mean, I was with Tim on Sunday night hosting, and we spend a lot of time together now. He believes still in Philadelphia if they're healthy, but I think they're closer to top 4, top 5 than they were a day ago.
Yeah.
Well, you?
I absolutely do. Yeah, I agree with every team you listed. Those are the teams I keep going back to. But I think it's probably Cavs, Knicks, and then a cluster of a bunch of other teams, right? All the ones you listed.
I think that yes, Cavs and Knicks should be 1 and 2, and then I think that if we're talking to somebody in Orlando right now, they're going to make a case why Orlando is 3.
Sure, but what I would say to them, Evan, is we are talking about the most superstar-driven league in American sports, and the best superstar in the Eastern Conference plays in Milwaukee, and I think that gives them the benefit of that. That's what I would say.
Well, okay, but here's the thing that I would ask you. Are we talking about who's going to finish with the best records or who has the best chance of going to the finals? Because those are two different things to me. Like, I think Detroit and Atlanta could finish with a better record than Milwaukee. I think in a big playoff series, I would pick Milwaukee. Milwaukee's biggest nemesis is no longer in the mix in Indiana because they're without their point guard and center and Halliburton and Turner is on the Bucks. Oddly enough, I think what this gives the Milwaukee Bucks and Myles Turner is consistently a floor that is higher for a longer period of time. But I think that if a healthy Dame ever was in the mix, the ceiling could potentially be higher. And that's why I think they still have moves to be made here, because I do wonder if they're going to consider trading Kyle Kuzma for someone, if they can get anything for him. I do wonder if they're holding that pick back, like the one that they would not obviously give. Because my assumption would be if they offered a team Dame Lillard plus a first rounder, a team would be interested in taking him, and you'd get 2 or 3 guys in return. You just would not get Myles Turner. So their decision making was hold on to the first to see if you can get the team better, and probably use Kuzma by way of doing that, and maybe see if there's some other guys that pop free, right? I mean, for those who are looking at this situation, how many teams thought Dame Lillard would pop free today? None of them.
Right.
Not that he could play this year, but I'm sure there are teams. I mean, I can give you a guy right now, and you're going to laugh, but there's definitely a shot at some point. I could see Chris Middleton getting bought out. Not that he solves your issues. I think you need a point guard, but you get what I'm saying. There are guys now. If players around the league, are all of the belief that Giannis is there and he's not going anywhere, the Bucks as a free agent destination, as an ask to get traded to, as a getting bought out, am I interested in, becomes a higher chance of an option for those teams than they were a day ago. Because now everyone's going to be of the assumption Giannis is staying.
100%. Evan Cohen, ESPN Radios and Sportsmanlike. Evan, always appreciate talking a little ball with you. We'll be listening to you beginning at 5 a.m. across ESPN Wisconsin tomorrow. Thanks, brother.
I got First Take tomorrow and Thursday as well, so make sure you listen to that. What happened to Brust? Brust left me? Brust didn't want to be on?
Brust is out at Tsunami Express in New Berlin, brand new location for Kyle Brust and Nortman. Wonderfully produced program, might I add, which starts in 13 minutes, so he had to leave.
Yeah, I don't agree with that last part. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
See ya.